All right, Saagar, what's on your radar?
Well, something I've taken pains to highlight on this show is the extent to which the elites of this country do not work for us, do not really like us, and are completely for sale. The thing is, most of these people are smart, or at least somewhat intelligent. So the early and initial signs of the degradation of our country were hidden directly from us. China should join the World Trade Organization. That will make American goods cheaper, they said. Oh, okay, everyone just goes along. China should be allowed to make all the critical stuff in our country because it's just a lot more efficient. Normal people say, yeah, okay, I mean, it kind of makes sense. On top of that, bipartisan elites in Washington, they go around and they say, not only will things be cheaper here for you and me, which is great, but at the same time, China, by doing more trade with the U.S., it's going to liberalize, become less authoritarian. As Michael Scott was fond of saying in this type of situation, win, win, win. There's just one problem. That covered up the mass exodus of stable middle-class jobs in America. That covered up the national security implications of a foreign and rival power controlling American supply chains for critical industries. And worse, it actually allowed cover for American markets to become intertwined with Chinese markets to unprecedented levels. And today, instead of China liberalizing, it's actually more authoritarian and cultish than it was when Nixon touched down there for the first time. Most Americans had no idea any of this was happening until 2016, when Donald Trump ran for president. But even then, it did not strike home the extent to which elites in America are controlled by China. Until NBA coach Daryl Morey spoke up for the people of Hong Kong in 2019, and an epic storm erupted. China banned the NBA from streaming in one of its largest markets. We saw the NBA condemn Daryl Morey for expressing basic support for democracy. We saw NBA owners with ties to China shame Daryl Morey on American soil. And worst of all, we saw America's greatest athletes like James Harden and LeBron James reveal themselves to be the corporate tools that they are, denouncing Morey for being, quote, unquote, uninformed when they themselves were vassals for the Chinese Communist Party, all so they could sell more sneakers to a country with 1 billion people. LeBron James showed us once and for all how sold out the American elite was, the richest and most powerful amongst us, protecting their profits not here at home in the country that made them and gave them everything, but instead in one of the most authoritarian countries in the world. It showed us at a conceptual level. In some ways, the Chinese have achieved total victory. They are able to control the very speech that comes out of the most powerful people in America's mouths. Now, that phenomenon has reared its ugly head again in the case of WWE star John Cena. He was recently making media rounds to promote the new Fast and Furious 9. Many questions arise. Why exactly do we need a 9th one? But Hollywood is all about franchises. I guess I get that. When the problem arose that Cena was promoting the new F9 in Taiwan, where he referred to it as a country. Now, as we know, Taiwan is not recognized as sovereign territory by the Chinese Communist Party. It's one of the most sensitive things in their foreign policy. But John Cena is an American. He's going to refer to it as we all do. So, no harm, no foul, right? Oh no, no indeed. Instead, what appeared yesterday is one of the most disgusting displays yet I've seen from Hollywood in their kowtow to China. When Cena, speaking Chinese in an apology, posted to Chinese social media saying he made a mistake in one of his interviews when he referred to Taiwan as an independent country. Take a listen.
你好，中国，这是叫西娜。我必须说，现在，在速度与激情中，我做很多采访，很多，所以在一个采访，我有一个错误，所有人问我，如果我可以用中文，速度与激情中人给我很多资讯 information。所以很多采访，很多 information，我有一个错误。
Stunning. Look, John Cena is a wrestler. I don't expect him to know anything. And if he legitimately has beliefs around whether Taiwan is a country, then so be it. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not the case. What happened is that Fast and Furious 9 is banking on making all of its money in China. So much so, Vin Diesel, the star of the show, insisted that Fast and Furious 9 premiere not in America, but in mainland China, because that is where the franchise has been most successful. And so when Cena referred to Taiwan as a country, he ran afoul of the CCP's official policy, and he immediately panicked and released this video. Why? Because China has made it known such transgressions will be punished harshly. I have covered on this show before. Nike and H&M made the most basic statement. They will take steps to ensure Chinese Uyghur slaves are not involved in providing them with cotton. The CCP mounted a full-scale attack on them, removing them from Chinese retail sites, removing them from their mapping software, dealing a massive blow to their businesses. For the most basic fact of standing up and saying, no slave cotton. That's intolerable. At this point, it is basically impossible to say Western brands should not do business with China, and vice versa, given the state of our trillion-dollar entanglement. But perhaps, as Americans, we can declare this policy. No American company or citizen shall compromise their legitimate values and repeat the propaganda of an authoritarian state for the purposes of money. If they do so, then we, the people, acting through our government, have the right to compel them not to do so. We cannot have a situation where the richest and most powerful amongst us even have a choice of acting on behalf of a foreign state and selling out their own countrymen. John Cena's famous phrase is, "You can't see me." But we can see him very clearly, actually, for the Chinese propagandist that he is, and we will not forget this one. And it's crazy, Crystal. I mean, you go and you watch that video where, look, he doesn't know anything. And this is the thing. If he was like Steven Seagal and one of those guys who like really loved Russia, and if he was like one of those like, I love China, I'm all in, moving, love the culture, I'd be like, all right, weirdo. Like Oliver Stone, same thing. It's like, I get it. It's okay. I disagree with you, but it's all good. But that's not what happened here. This is all bowing down to make sure they can protect their profits in China.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Does he speak Mandarin?
That was another good question. So I researched it. I didn't find out. So I think that he memorized that phrase, which also makes me think that Comcast, which owns NBC Universal, which owns Universal Pictures, may have had a little hand in making sure that went out.
Okay, so if he doesn't speak Mandarin, that took a lot of work.
That was a lot of work.
Be able to,
he probably reversed it. Oh, he's information. I was like, I see you.
To me, this story says so much more about us than it does even about China. To me, this is a story about us because what all of these interactions have revealed, and you lay out a number of them that were just so shameful and embarrassing, this one probably being the worst among them, these really reveal the sort of core flaw and rot at the center of neoliberalism and totally unbridled capitalism.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've effectively, as a nation, embraced profit margins as our greatest value and aspiration. So when that's the both culture and legal structure that you create, then this is what you're going to get. So in this way, it's not even real. Like John Cena's was embarrassing, and obviously any individual has a choice to walk away. Especially what blows my mind is always people who are already wildly successful and like wealthy. It's like, really, you had to go out and do this? But it's less about John Cena than it is about, we're going to see this pattern repeat itself again and again and again. Of course. Because ultimately, these are the values that this country, when we really get down to it, outside of like the fairy tale version of what America is about, this is what America is really about. And the Chinese government knows that. And they have been incredibly effective at weaponizing. We thought our values could be weaponized to make them less authoritarian and more liberal, et cetera, et cetera. And they're the ones who used our values, our most corrupt values, and weaponize them against us.
Absolutely. Deng Xiaoping is on the record saying, we're going to use the West's money in order to finance and build an authoritarian socialist state. Like he's basically like, if these fools want to give us loans
they
and let us
outright
to their markets, they don't care. They know we are so foolish that we'll take the money. When you really think about it, so how much is F9 going to make in China? Maybe 100 million, maybe 150 million, 200 million, something like that, which is nothing whenever we think about it on the Comcast multi-billion-dollar bottom line. That is what we are mortgaging, is the ability of this country to tell John Cena or any American citizen who happens to act in any of these movies, no, you are not going to say anything contrary to what, anything contrary to our policy. And like I said, Cena's an American. If he believes legitimately that Taiwan is not a country, so be it. I accept that. But he doesn't. That's not what's happening here. He doesn't even have a position on it. But he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, because he's acting in the most basic way. Same with Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey, he didn't seem like a passionate Hong Kong defender or anything. He was just like, hey, I think what's happening over there is messed up. That's it. It's not like it's his life's cause. And for that, they tried to make the NBA cost $700 million in streaming rights. You can't have that. It's just one of these situations where our worst impulses of unbridled capitalism have been weaponized against us, and we are losing what made us so great and special in the first place. And yeah, how many great movies are coming out of China? Go ahead and show me that one. Same in their pop culture. South Korea, which is 1/10 the population, has basically taken over our music industry, which I'm fine with, because it's awesome. But the point I'm making is that their system is being slowly inculcated and into ours with the richest and most powerful amongst us, our pop culture figures and more. And with John Cena, look, I've heard this. He's got, it's very good with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and all that. I think that's fantastic. However, this is a cowardly act.
Yeah.
And I think he knew exactly what he was doing in the service of profit. And that is wrong, especially since he's already a multimillionaire.
Indeed.
All right, I'm looking forward to your Radar Next whistle.